My aunt gave me this unusual pipe, thinking it might be some kind of Native American artifact. The white parts look like porcelain, the stem is made of wood, and there are two soft little brushes hanging on a string. It was likely purchased outside the United States. Does anyone know what this is? What you've found is a traditional German porcelain pipe, often referred to as a Tyrolean pipe or a Black Forest pipe. These ornate smoking instruments were especially popular in the 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly in regions like Bavaria, Austria, and Switzerland. The pipe consists of several distinct parts: a porcelain bowl, typically decorated with colorful hunting or rural scenes, a wind cap made of metal to prevent ash from blowing out, and a long stem made from materials like cherry wood or horn. The brush-like tufts attached to cords were purely decorative, often made from chamois or badger hair. The Y-shaped insert is a removable chamber that helps cool and filter the smoke, and the connections between the pieces are traditionally lined with cork, similar to how a clarinet is assembled. These pipes weren't just for smoking, they were also symbols of regional pride and masculinity. In some households, especially in the Bavarian countryside, such pipes were passed down through generations. My son found this using the metal detector he got for Christmas. We're not sure what this object is or what he's holding in his left hand. Any idea what it is? What your son discovered is a cast iron fire mark issued around 1848 by the Associated Firemen's Insurance Company of Baltimore, Maryland. These fire marks were affixed to buildings to indicate that the property was insured against fire damage. The mark features a fireman in high relief blowing a trumpet. In the fireman's left hand is a burning brand, a type of oil-soaked torch used by firefighters in the 19th century to light their way through dark streets before the era of electric lighting. Often made of metal and fueled by whale oil or kerosene, these torches burned brightly and served both as illumination and as a visual signal during nighttime fire responses. They were typically carried by younger members of volunteer fire companies known as torch boys, who would run ahead of the fire wagons to light the route and alert the public. The role was often considered an early step toward becoming a full-fledged firefighter. The Associated Firemen's Insurance Company operated from 1847 until it was absorbed by the Fidelity Fire Insurance Company in 1899. I found this small metal disc attached to a money clip. The center rotates, and it seems to show some kind of conversion between radians and degrees. The whole thing is just a little over an inch in diameter. Has anyone seen anything like this before? What you've found is a miniature circular slide rule. It's clearly modeled after genuine circular slide rules, which were essential tools for pilots during the era of analog navigation. The markings on the disc, such as STAT and NM, refer to statute miles and nautical miles, respectively. These units are commonly used in aviation and maritime navigation, with nautical miles being the standard for air and sea travel due to their direct relationship to the Earth's geometry. Circular slide rules were invaluable for pilots, allowing them to perform a range of calculations necessary for flight planning and navigation. These included converting distances, estimating fuel consumption, determining speed, and calculating flight time. One of the most renowned examples is the E-6B flight computer, developed in the 1930s by Naval Lieutenant Philip Dalton. Introduced to the United States Army Air Corps in 1940, the E-6B became a staple in pilot training and is still used today for educational purposes. My uncle found this object washed up on the Space Coast in Florida back in the early 1990s. It's extremely light, very hard, and definitely man-made. Its texture and weight remind us of insulation material. Any idea what this is? What your uncle discovered is likely a fragment of spray-on foam insulation from a NASA launch vehicle, most probably the space shuttle's external fuel tank. NASA developed a specialized polyurethane-based foam to insulate the external tank, which stored cryogenic propellants, liquid hydrogen at 423 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, and liquid oxygen at 297 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. This foam was crucial in preventing ice formation on the tank's surface and in maintaining its structural integrity during the intense conditions of launch. The foam was applied using both automated and manual spraying techniques, depending on the specific area of the tank. Its closed-cell structure, filled with millions of tiny bubbles, provided excellent insulation and minimized air infiltration. Despite its strength, pieces of the foam occasionally broke off during launch. This issue drew heightened attention after the Columbia disaster in 2003, when a piece of foam struck the orbiter's wing during ascent, ultimately leading to its destruction upon re-entry. In response, NASA introduced structural changes to prevent it from happening again. I found this unusual plastic object at my grandma's place. It looks like a combination of a ruler and a letter opener, but it also has these green numbered dials marked 5, 10, 20, 40, and 50. They can be turned but not removed. Does anyone know what this is? What you've discovered is a Linux letter scale, a device that combines a letter opener, a metric ruler, and a simple postal scale. It was designed by Danish engineer Freda Dueland Nielsen and patented in 1952, during a time when estimating postage at home was still a practical necessity. The plastic body includes a small slit for inserting a letter and a set of rotating knobs marked with weights, 5, 10, 20, 40, and 50 grams. To use it, you'd clip the letter into the slot and lift the device by one of the knobs. If it balanced horizontally, that meant the letter weighed approximately that amount. If it tilted forward or backward, you'd switch to another knob until it leveled out. We saw these long, spiral-shaped metal rods wrapped around power lines during a family walk. They look like stiff steel coils, twisted around the cable. Every span on this line had them, and they were evenly spaced from the poles, but not attached except by being wrapped. Does anyone know what these are? What you found are spiral vibration dampers, metal coils wrapped tightly around power lines to protect them from a specific phenomenon called aeolian vibration. This type of vibration occurs when steady wind flows across the cable and creates low-amplitude, high-frequency oscillations. Over time, these seemingly minor movements can cause fatigue in the conductor material, which may lead to breaks in the strands or failure of the connecting hardware. The spiral dampers work by changing the stiffness and mass distribution of the cable where they're installed, which helps disrupt the conditions that allow resonance to build up. Unlike larger devices like Stockbridge dampers, which I've already talked about in a previous video, these don't hang from the line, but are instead wrapped tightly around it. They're especially useful for smaller conductors or shield wires and are often installed in locations where wind exposure is higher. I found this small brass object hidden inside an old piece of furniture from a rural area in Belgium. It has a crank on top that makes small blades extend from the bottom, and a button on the side retracts them. The blades aren't sharp, but maybe they used to be. No one I've shown it to seems to recognize it. Any idea what it is? What you've found is a scarificator, a medical instrument popular in the 18th and 19th centuries, used for bloodletting, a once common practice aimed at treating various ailments by withdrawing blood. The idea was based on the belief that many illnesses stemmed from an imbalance of the body's humors, and removing blood could help restore that balance. Scarificators were seen as a more advanced alternative to older tools like the fleam, which used individual blades to make a single incision at a time. We've already talked about fleams in one of our previous videos. I'll leave a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. Scarificators featured an internal mechanism with spring-loaded blades inside a compact brass body. When the lever on the side was pressed, several small blades snapped out from the bottom to make shallow, uniform cuts. Some models were even equipped with adjustable settings, allowing practitioners to control the depth of the incisions. Compared to the fleam, this method was quicker, cleaner, and often considered less painful. But by the late 19th century, as medical science progressed and the dangers of bloodletting became more apparent, tools like this gradually disappeared from medical practice. My grandfather gave this to my father before he passed away, and we have no idea what it is. We found it in his toolbox, and it has a sharp blade running down the middle with adjustable knobs on both sides of the handle. Any idea what this tool is used for? What you found is a draw knife, a traditional woodworking tool designed for shaping wood by shaving off thin slices. It features a sharp blade with handles on both ends, allowing the user to pull it toward themselves to remove material. Draw knives have been used for centuries in woodworking, particularly for tasks like debarking logs, shaping chair legs, or creating flat surfaces. They are especially useful for removing large amounts of wood quickly and are often employed in green woodworking. The tool is typically used in conjunction with a shaving horse, a foot-operated clamp that holds the workpiece steady while the woodworker pulls the draw knife toward themselves. We found these strange blue creatures washed up on a beach in northern New South Wales, Australia. They kind of look like anemones or jellyfish, but we'd never seen anything like them before. Do they sting, and does anyone know what they are? What you encountered on the beach is a Porpita porpita, more commonly known as the blue button. Despite its jellyfish-like appearance, it's not a single organism, but rather a colony of tiny creatures called hydrozoan polyps, all working together as one. The blue button floats on the surface of the ocean and is made up of two main parts, a central golden-brown disc called the float, and a fringe of bright blue or turquoise tentacles surrounding it. The float keeps the colony buoyant, while the tentacle-like structures are used for both feeding and defense. Each tentacle ends in clusters of specialized stinging cells known as nematocysts, which can immobilize small prey like plankton and crustacean larvae. Although these stingers are generally harmless to humans, they can cause minor skin irritation in some cases. These creatures are common in warm, tropical and subtropical waters, and sometimes wash up on beaches in large numbers, especially after windy weather. I found this in the attic of an old house in the Czech Republic. It's a wooden case with glass panels on all sides, and inside there's something that looks like a set of precision scales, possibly used in a laboratory or for scientific work. I have no idea what this device is. What you've discovered is an antique analytical balance, an instrument used in laboratories to measure mass with high accuracy. The design typically features a wooden case with glass panels to protect the measurement from air currents. Inside, there's a central beam with pans suspended on either side, balanced on a precise pivot. Small weights, often stored within the case, were added to counterbalance the item being weighed. By achieving equilibrium between the known weights and the sample, scientists could determine the exact mass. Some versions of these balances were adapted to measure specific gravity, the ratio of a substance's density compared to that of water. This was done by weighing the sample in air, then in water, and calculating the difference. Such measurements were vital in fields like material science and quality control. I found this piece of lead while metal detecting in England. It appears to have a Star of David on one side and the number 45 on the other. Does anyone know what this is? What you found is a lead bag seal, most likely from the late 19th or early 20th century. These seals were used to secure sacks containing goods like fertilizer, grain, or other bulk materials. The presence of the Star of David and the number 45 suggests it was part of a batch identification system. To seal the bag, a wire or cord was threaded through the top, and the lead seal was crimped tightly over it. This made it obvious if someone had tried to open the bag without permission. The Star of David was commonly used as a decorative element by different manufacturers at the time and didn't necessarily have any religious meaning. I found this mug at a dump in North Carolina. It has a cartoonish rat hugging a piece of cheese and the letters NOTR printed underneath. Does anyone know what this might represent? The symbol on your mug is associated with the National Order of Trench Rats, a lesser-known fraternal organization created by disabled American veterans of World War I. The group was formed in the early 1920s at a veteran hospital in Arrowhead Springs, California, by members of the disabled American veterans. The name Trench Rats was a reference to the rats that soldiers often encountered in the trenches of France during the war. The organization began as a way to boost morale among recovering veterans. The hospital was located in a remote mountain area, and many of the patients were ambulatory, but lacked activities or social outlets. A small group of DAV members decided to create a brotherhood with secret rituals and humorous initiation ceremonies, meant to bring laughter and companionship to those who had endured the horrors of war. What started as a light-hearted pastime quickly grew into something more meaningful. Originally, the NOTR was a secretive and honorary group that admitted only those who showed exceptional service and dedication to fellow veterans. Over time, the organization evolved into a broader philanthropic group, raising funds for disabled veterans, their families, and supporting DAV initiatives. In the last video, I asked you to guess what this unusual tool might be used for. Everyone had great guesses, and many of you got it right. This item is a Moline pastry cutter. It was designed to efficiently cut dough into uniform shapes for pastries such as donuts, biscuits, and croissants. Thank you to everyone who participated and shared your guesses. A special shout out to Ozzy for being the first to correctly identify it. Alright, it is time for another mystery item. Take a look at this large and heavy metal fork. It was found in a 150-year-old bowling alley. What do you think it is used for? Leave your guesses in the comments and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to create more videos. See you next time.